strategic move that Eddie is making for AJ? Why are you not thinking, let's get him set up for kind of animal?
That was years and years and years ago. Like, Clarissa is a way different fighter from when she was back in.
Thanks to those joining me live and to those that will be joining me on our
defenses that she's had to have recently. You know, she's pulled people.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the RoundTable about tribalism. I don't think tribalism is necessarily bad. I just don't think it has to be.
I don't know what he think he sees or what he think he know. But he going to the hospital, bro. Like, bro, you not winning that fight.
You guys mentioned, I think, D-Style, you mentioned him versus Regis Program. I'd love, that sounds like a...
Old, I don't need you, you know, and PBC and others, in my opinion, it's like, oh, this is my guy. Like, there's a relationship.
Flat out and tough, and we call box, and we go to the end of the round, and then...
That would say, what do you mean by acting flat? That's a fair question, but a participant of trash talk knows...
And they're announcing a fight 3-4 months from now. And he ain't going to fight. I bet you anything. He's not going to fight somebody as good as John Wright. Thanks to those joining me live and those that will be joining me on Archive. D-Style here. We're listening on the Archive. Hit the like button. We have a jam-packed show with jam-packed topics and a jam-packed panel. Of course, as always, Joe B from Ringside Reporter in the building. We have Melissa as well. She has a book coming out. We'll let her talk about that in a little bit. Shadow Ghost, how's it going, brother?
Good. How's it going, man? Thank you for having me.
For sure. And of course, from the Spit Bucket Podcast, we have both Mr. IOTBA and Solomon. How's it going, guys?
What's
and of course,
on, brother?
Base the Kid making his return to the round table after a long hiatus. We're glad to have him back for sure. All right.
Y'all missed me.
Before we get started, I'm going to tell everybody about your book coming out pretty soon and all that good stuff.
Oh, sure. Thank you. First of all, thank you so much for having me on. This is just such a great roundup, and I love listening to you all, so I really feel very happy to be able to join you. My new book is called The Promise of Women's Boxing, a momentous new era for the sweet science. It covers the women's boxing game basically from the day after the Olympics to say, okay, now what in 2012 to now, and really takes a deep dive into fighters like Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano and old gang folks like Heather Hardy, who came up not through the amateurs, but came up really hard through those Broadway boxing fights. Also look at fighters from around the world and have a forward by Clarissa Shields, so I feel like somewhat validated in terms of getting her thoughts as well. So I'm very excited that it's coming out, and as I said, it'll be published in June. And if anybody's in New York City at Gleason's Gym on June 15th, come on by for the lunch party.
All right,
that's awesome. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
100%. So let's go ahead and get this started. With Saul Canelo Alvarez, the new heel version of Saul Canelo. Babe, I remember last year you were saying this guy is nothing like Tank Davis, so never say anything like him. but now it's, I'm not saying he's there yet, but it's you know, maybe it's all for show. I don't know, but there's been recent talks that Leonard Ellerbe set the line. If there's disrespect, there is no check. Abel Sanchez came out and said, look, when I was the trainer of Gennady Golovkin, you know, we have to be respectful towards Canelo Alvarez to get that big fight. That seems to be the theme here. Does David Benavidez, in your opinion, his team need to change their method of trying to get that fight here? Are they being too disrespectful? And if so, should they start being respectful to Saul Canelo? Can you empathize with the point that you're not going to do business with somebody like that's being disrespectful to you?
Well, let me just start by saying this. I still don't think Canelo Alvarez is anything like Tank Davis. I think he's doing his Floyd Mayweather impersonation right now. He's using a lot of Floyd Mayweather talking points. And I don't have a problem with it. I mean, his right to say what he wants to say. I think the fight's happening in September. I think all this is just build up. I think this is all part of the plan. They're trying to build interest. This is kind of like a fake beef to me, if I'm being honest. I do think it's going to happen. And I just think this is all part of the process of building the fight, which I mean, I'm a little selfish here and I'm maybe self-centered in my opinion, because I can't expect everyone to be like me because I'm already pumped for the fight. I like the fight, but maybe this will bring in other people like casuals and stuff when they just kind of see this. And a lot of people like the back and forth, especially today's young people. They like the back and forth. They like the controversy. They like the drama. And this is what it seems like they're trying to do: drum up some controversy, drum up some drama, have one side go against the other side, similar to what they did with Mayweather Pacquiao. And it doesn't matter what I think. I don't think it needs it, but history has proven me wrong because it always does make the fight bigger. And I do think this is a big fight, but maybe because of the anticipation and the back and forth, it'll probably be even bigger than even I anticipate.
Okay. Solomon.
Yeah, man. So
Go ahead.
the question, right, is do we think Benavidez needs to change the game up, right, to land the fight? And it's the first thing I think of when I hear that is we've always heard the phrase "closed mouths don't get fed," but Jaime Munguia has proven that to be completely inaccurate and false because the guy's just been a peach. He's just been the Mexican peach, and he landed the fight of his life. Now, I do agree with Joe in the fact that Canelo's doing his version of Floyd. And here's all I have to say about that. The comparisons is I don't have issue with it per se, but if you had problems with what Floyd did and you don't have problems with what Canelo did or vice versa, I think you need to take a good look in the mirror. At the end of the day, man, this is the fight game. And your question is, should David Benavidez respect Canelo more? Man, come on. Like, showing respect to me is challenging the biggest name, the biggest. Everything I'm saying right now, I still pick Canelo to win the fight. So he's challenging himself to the biggest fight of his life, the most risk involved. So I think that's respect in itself. This is the fight game. We need to remember that. We shouldn't have to massage these guys' shoulders to land the big fight. At the end of the day, I'm disgusted with what Canelo's doing. I know you said, I think the fight's going to happen in September. We've been burned way too many times playing the I think game. Based on what we have so far, I'm tired of it. I'm disgusted with it. I don't know what the hell David has to do to get the fight, but it's a giant 2 thumbs down for me, man.
Okay. All right. Babe, what are your thoughts on all this? Do you agree with Beeb? It's all just part of the show. They're planning to do a fight, or do you really think Canelo is just annoyed with the father and Samson and has no interest in working with them? Base, you there?
Oh, it's base.
Oh, me. Apologies.
Yeah, base,
okay. I can't really tell you. To be honest, here's what I see. I kind of agree with Beeb. I think the fight happens in September. I think that was always the plan. That being said, the whole should he have been respectful? Well, no. What he should have done, if he really wanted the fight as badly as he's claimed he has, he should have gone to the WBC, filed his paperwork, and petitioned that from like a year and a half ago, when he first got that interim title, and then put pressure on them, even threatened to sue, the same as Dillian White did to get his shot at the WBC title, and then he could have taken it to purse bid if Canelo didn't want to just accept the fight. He had all the avenues available to him to have this fight ages ago. And if it was about just getting the belts, well, you could have got that belt off him 2 years ago if he didn't want to fight you. So at this point, it's a lot of disrespect, but it's like smoke and mirrors. It's like, okay, well, I'm gonna trash your reputation in public, but I'm not gonna do anything to really make you have to fight me. So in that sense, Canelo, as far as I'm concerned, he's doing his version of the final boss right now. If anyone watches WWE, they'll get that reference. And he's playing it quite masterfully. So until such a point as he's got no other avenue, but he has to fight him, and his back's against the wall, and even trying to drop the belt won't help him or whatever. Do what you want until such a time as the fight comes at your doorstep. Would I have liked to have seen that fight by now? Yes, but I'm not desperate for the fight because prior to last year, you can't even really say that Benavidez had this stellar record, which just meant that Canelo had to see him. There's still other contenders in the division that if he really wanted it, he could have been fighting them and cleaning it out. So there was no other options for Canelo to have but him. So yeah, at the end of the day, Canelo's the cash cow. I don't like everything he does or every move he makes, but until you're in a position where he has to fight you and there's no other choice, you take your turn in the queue, and it's just not his turn yet.
Okay. Shout out to Andre Rodriguez. I appreciate the $2 euro, brother. Thanks for the support. Shadow Ghost. What are your thoughts on this, brother?
Hey, how's it going? You know, I agree with who I forgot what the first person said, but about like this is a talking back and forth and being disrespectful. I mean, people talk about, you know, you want to sell the fight and stuff like that, but I look at it like this. I don't like this whole A-side thing, and I've spoken on this before, like today, and I think Floyd maybe set the tone for that. But it's more like you know, like when you say you don't want to fight somebody because their father is talking shit or whatever, like I don't agree with that. But at the end of the day, I look at it like this. If you know that that is how he conducts business, my question becomes then, why would you continue to conduct your business a certain way, knowing that you're lowering the chances? It's almost like smoke and mirrors. And I try to look at both sides. And when I look at both sides, I look at the fact that we've seen lies, or I've seen lies come out of the Benavidez camp. I mean, when they announced David was moving up to 175 to fight, what's his name? Gavozdek? I can't say that guy's name. Alexander. Yeah, thank you. You know, that's Eddie Reynoso's fighter. And he said he didn't know that was Eddie Reynoso's fighter. And it's like, bro, come on, bro. Like, how do you make a fight with somebody? So where was Eddie when they were making the fight? I mean, and that's not like, I ask myself, if you're keeping that and you're lying about that, then what else are you lying about? You know, with Samson Lukowicz saying 55 million and also, look, at the end of the day, I don't agree with it because I feel like Canelo does act like, some would say maybe a diva, but if you know that he acts like that, I ask, why do you keep conducting yourself like that? So I would like to see the fight. So whatever needs to happen for that fight to happen is what needs to happen. And if that means that he needs to conduct business a different way, then that's what I want to see.
Okay. Mr. IOTBA, what's going on right here? Is Canelo in the ride? Is it all just part of the plan? How do you feel about it?
No, Canelo definitely in the right. He earned this right to do what he do. Like the past fighters earned their right to do what they want to do. See, this is the thing right here. You know, boxing has been king in America for a long time, right? And you know, you got a lot of privileged Americans, right, who got used to it, right? The way boxing was going, because all the other fighters had to come here to make their name. Now you got the Mexican great from Guadalajara, Mexico, who earned everything he got to put himself in this position like every other fighter of his stature in the past half. So he earned his right to talk his talk. And like Leonard Ellerbe said, he said it so eloquently. If you disrespect, no check. Canelo was worth hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. Who is David Benavidez to Canelo? A peasant. And then another thing, David Benavidez want to come out and make this post talking about, oh, I'm going to give all my check and feed these people. What are you going to do? I'm like, David Benavidez, you don't even got enough money to talk to Canelo like that. You can't even put yourself in the same breath as Canelo and talking about what you will do when the guy's worth this enormous amount of money. Shout out to Mexico. Shout out to Canelo Alvarez. Shout out to all the haters, all the privileged Americans who had no problem with Floyd Mayweather doing what he want to do. Now you have this Mexican great from Guadalajara doing the same thing. Now it's a problem. They need to stop.
All right. Yeah, the subs from Guadalajara are going up right now. Like, you know what I mean? But Melissa, talk to us. What are your thoughts?
Well, I got to say I'm in the Canelo camp as well. Look, the guy has 60 wins against 2 draws and 2 losses. And what is he, 33 years old? He's done nothing but box his entire life. The man deserves some respect. Do we all agree with every fight he ever had? All his moves? Yes, no. But he's here. He's a force in the sport. His presence on a card guarantees that people are going to attend and watch that fight. And look, we're in a business. This is the entertainment business. And he is a very smart, savvy business guy who's saying, I don't need, what is this flea flicking on me? I don't want I got my next fight coming up. Do I want this fight? Maybe. Do I need this fight? No. What he's thinking, what do I have? How many years do I have left? What are my next moves in this sport? Am I going to become a big time promoter? Am I going to go home and have a hacienda and just lay up my feet? He's at a different stage in his career. So it is Benavidez has to kind of go to the guy and say, I really want to fight you, and lay out the reasons for that fight. Now, the things that I really don't get is for somebody like Timothy Bradley going on and on and on, going, you have to take the fight. It's all about Mexican pride. I mean, give me a break. Who the hell are you to say that? I don't get that. And Teddy Atlas, the same thing. Well, Teddy Atlas is Teddy Atlas, but Timothy Bradley talking about Mexican pride. I'm sorry. Canelo is in a different space. And the way that Mayweather was in that different space, Mayweather completely changed boxing. Whether we agree with it or not, he changed the game in a really substantive way. And Canelo has now done the same thing. He's taken that mantle and he's doing his moves in other areas because he's now really very interested in promotion, very interested in creating his own boxing empire. So we'll see where this goes. Would I like to see the fight? Sure. I would like to see David Benavidez fight Canelo. I think it would be a really fun fight. But I think if David Benavidez really wants to stay in this game, he's got to get some smarts, because to get to that level as an operator in this sports game now, you've got to really operate at a much higher level and be very, very savvy on the business side of the sport.
Look, what I'll say is this. The Benavidez side, first of all, needs to get their story straight, because one day Benavidez Sr., he's on No Puedes Jugar Boxeo, Spanish podcast, and he's apologizing to Canelo, talking about how much he respects Canelo and this, that, and the third. And then he goes to another podcast that's very anti-Canelo. All of a sudden, he's calling him a bitch and all these other strong words, right? So, like, I think whatever route either you're Clubber Lang or you're not. Right? Clubber Lang didn't go call out Rocky and then go on another show and apologize to him and say how much he respects Rocky. Like, he kept a very consistent message. So they need to work on the consistency of the message. Benavidez can be saying one thing, and David, that is, Senior another thing, Samson another thing, and then like his manager another thing. Like, you can't, 4 people in your camp cannot be saying 4 different things. That's the first thing they need to get in order. Is get a consistent message. That's number one. What I will say is this. I agree with Joe that the fight's going to happen in September, and what everyone needs to understand, that it's going to happen in Canelo's terms. Okay, Canelo calls the shots. Samson needs to stop talking about what he's going to offer and how many cities they need to go to promote the fight. And Samson, you're not putting up the money, brother. Like, you're just a puppet promoter for Al Heyman. Sit there, okay, chill, drink your whiskey, and they'll take care of it. Okay, kind of like Canelo alluded to how they took care of the Munguia fight in Austria, had nothing to do with it, right? It's something like that. All right. I believe the fight will happen, but this is just a but. If it doesn't happen, if Canelo goes another route, Canelo fights somebody else, there's going to be some increasing mounting pressure from the Mexican legends. There's going to be some increasing mounting pressure from the Mexican fan base. There's going to be some increasing mounting pressure from the fans in general. Okay, there's going to be increasing mounting pressure from guys like me. Okay, who I'm a fan of Canelo. But I'm a fan of Canelo, but I'm a boxing fan first. And as a boxing fan, I want to see the best fight the best. And right now it's 1 and 2. So if Benavidez does everything he's supposed to do, which is literally nothing, you just got to win your fight with Volchdik and just wait on Canelo to make you the offer. That's all you have to do. All right. As long as you can't, a child can't mess that up. So just wait on your offer. It'll happen in September or sometime later this year. But as long as the fight is offered, it's offered. But I'm hoping that the fight happens. I'm expecting the fight to happen. If for whatever reason this isn't just for show, and Canelo is serious, because he was telling some of the Mexican media, I have no interest in fighting this guy. He's got nothing to offer me other than 25 pounds and everything he's saying. If he doesn't fight him, then he's going to get a lot of criticism, and there's going to be a lot of mounting pressure, and I'm going to have to criticize him. It is what it is. That's how I feel about it. ILTB is shaking his head. You know, what's going on, Mr. ILTBA?
No, I mean, it's like you guys don't understand that this is prize fighting, right? You put yourself in position, and like Melissa just stated so eloquently, Canelo has fought over 60 fights in his career. Now, I need everybody who's going to be mad at Canelo to ask David Benavidez, why did you lose your belt on the scale twice? Why did you do that? Because we wouldn't even be talking about this if David Benavidez wouldn't have lost his belt on the scale twice. See, it's good for one person, but not good for the other. Like in this world we live in now, this is a business, and Canelo don't need to do business. Like Canelo is worth so much money. The criticism y'all give him, he could care less.
But I want to chime in and just say this. First of all, I want to say my dad is probably he's watching, and he's just gonna give me a big giant "I told you so" based on everything y'all said collectively, because I've been going at him with this. But listen, at what point did we give these guys the power? Like, we are still the consumer here. This seems to be the only business I've seen. I try to think about where does the provider have so much control? We are the ones asking for the fight. We want this. So at what point is it okay, pardon my French, to absolutely shit on your consumer? Like, he's doing what he wants, and he's literally saying, I don't have anybody to answer to. And I don't care what Benavidez does. I don't care what anybody did. You are the face of the sport. You are the face of the industry. So if you're calling yourself the best ever, why is it so damn hard to get you to prove it? Again, I'm a Canelo fan, and I think he wins that fight. I want to make sure I preface that. But to your point, IOTBA, he lost his belt. Nobody took that belt from David. He lost it. He beat himself. Canelo has a responsibility to the fans. He has a responsibility to himself, calling himself the champ at the division, to go and truly win that belt. That's my problem with it. That's how I feel.
What's the statute of limitations for David missing weight? Like, when is it a punishment for life? Like,
I agree on that.
He doesn't
too,
get
man.
another title shot because Canelo never needs to fight him because he lost the belt in the scale, LTBA?
Yeah.
No, it's not that. It's just, it's about being professional, right? And when you not in position to call no shots like David Benavidez is, when he was working his way up, he should have been professional. But you know what David Benavidez did? Unlike what Canelo did, Canelo stayed focused. And that's why Canelo works. He's at now, Benavidez didn't. That's why he's begging literally on his hand and knees for a fight. And everybody is out here crying me a river because Canelo, after 60 plus fights, after working his way on the mountaintop, people are mad because he get to pick and choose what he want to do after a long career. Come on, like, he done fought a lot of...
We could talk about cocaine and food, but we can't talk about clembuterol. Like, what's the statute of limitations? Like you said. Like, again, I don't like bringing. And I agree. I don't like bringing up the past because everybody's got it. So when do we stop talking about David losing his belt on the scale or whatever the case? Because I'm not bringing that up, just like I'm not bringing up Canelo's positive test. So let's just look at now. And what we have now is the facts, man. And we don't have the fight. We still don't have the fight.
If we're going to look at now, so let me just jump in there real quick. If we're going to look at now and we're looking at David's resume, what have we got? We've got one fairly good level opposition on there in Caleb Plant, who was already knocked out by Canelo before you decided to face him, when you could have faced him in a unification for the belts and cemented your spot 4 years ago, and then an undersized Demetrius Andrade, who before that fight had never fought or even beaten a former or a present world champion before. That's the basis of his resume that everyone is chiming to say he must fight Canelo next. I'm sorry, I feel like he should be fighting Christian Mbile for that recognition, or David Moreau, or the other people that are actually in those other mandatory or near mandatory spots to cement himself to prove that he is number one. Quite frankly, I want to see the fight. Don't get it twisted. I want the fight. I'm as keen on the fight as everyone else, but I'm not about to be chastising Canelo for his maneuvers when David, as far as I'm concerned, has only just about started competing at the top level. Sorry.
I would like, you know, I understand the frustration when it comes to the fight not being made, and I mean, I spoke on this for like almost a week, and it's just crazy because you always have two people. You know, you got one person that's like Canelo earned his shot, he could do whatever he wants, and then you got another person like David done earned it. And I look at it like this, you know, when Boo Boo walked in that locker room and he said, you know, get out of here, you know, you fought nobody, and around that time I was thinking the same thing around David, but then David stepped up and he fought Caleb Plant and he fought Boo Boo, regardless of the status that people put Boo Boo in. Regardless, he did do that. And I give him the respect for that, but this is kind of sad when it comes to, and this is the state of boxing. I support boxing no matter what generation it is. Even remember that dry spell that we had where Canelo was actually carrying it on his back when he went through 168 and cleared that whole division out. I remember that year was so dry and we were all mad because most of the fights we were seeing was on Twitter, you know, with Tank and all these other people. And he stepped up, but that at the same time, you have a responsibility. What is that, like heavy, that who wears the crown? But when I look at this, and this is what's kind of sad about it, is that one day I was like, you know what, man, yeah, you know, I really do want him to fight David. I'm sick and tired of this diva shit, you know. And then I go on and I look, and we just going on the resumes, like my guy said, the resumes. And even when Canelo is taking a soft fight, his soft touch is 80% better than most of these guys' resumes. We compared the resumes. We take the resumes and we're like, you know, the ones where people get mad at Canelo, they're like, he fought Ryder or he fought this guy. Right? He fought Yildirim. But you take Yildirim and you take Ryder and you put them in some of these guys' resumes where they call him a Euro bum or whatever. 90% of their resumes is Europeans. And then like his easy touches are like 80%. So that doesn't give Canelo a pass. But at the same time, I always feel like it's hard to really criticize him like that, because it's like, how can I do that when, I mean, look at everyone else? And if that's not the point, but it's hard for me at times. It's hard for me to go at the man. I remember when he carried it on his back, but I want to see the fight. And I don't agree with the diva thing. I don't agree with that, but I am on the side of, if you know what you're doing is making the fight a less probability, then I question that. Like, just do it, bro. I saw someone in the chat say, so he's got to kiss his ass. If that's what he's got to do to get the fight made, I want to see it.
I like it.
Hey, shout out to Coach here, True Media Boxing Radio with the super chat. I appreciate it. Don't forget to hit that like button. Absolutely hit the like button, guys. Everybody watching on X, you could come on the YouTube chat as well. And shout out to everybody listening on YouTube as well.
Hey, D-Style.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can I get 10 seconds? You know, everybody say boxing is just like that. No, it's not. Do every basketball team play every hard team every night? Do every football team play every hard team?
Oh, you don't want to go there, Mr. LTV.
No, I'm just saying, do they? Do when a player's shoulder is like LeBron, he didn't play last night.
But like, Mr. LTV, I'll let you finish. But did LeBron James get to pick and choose who he plays?
No, what I'm saying is they don't play hard games every night, right? They don't do that. Canelo has had a lot of hard games over the years, right? Okay. What do y'all expect of this guy?
Let's talk now. So public perception.
I guess what I'll say, a lot of the arguments I actually agree with. And I actually agree with like what Chadwick was saying in 2021, especially Canelo carried the damn sport on his back. And I don't think he got enough appreciation for that. While guys like Errol Spence are fighting every 15 months, right? Yeah. So it is what it is, right? But, and I think it's nonsense to say that the people saying that Canelo's been ducking Benavidez for years, like the Stephen A. Smiths and the Paulie Malignaggi's, and they're so full of shit. Like they don't know what they're talking about. I'm sorry. Well, they know what they're doing, but I just know what they're doing. But my argument is not based on has he been ducking, David. I'm not even saying he's ducking yet. What I'm saying is that now is the time to make the fight. I think September at the latest next year is the time to make the fight, is what I'm arguing. That's all I'm saying.
So would you agree, D-Star, just real quick, that balance? I'm not like, because I see like mostly what I hear. I'm not saying us, because a lot of us are hardcores, but when you look at everything, you look at the situation, you're going to see two extremes. You're going to see one person like, he's ducking David and this and that. And you got the other extreme, like, he doesn't have to fight David. You know, I want to see the fight, but at the same time, I want to give Canelo his respect. David has been trying to get his shot, but I also, I agree with my guy on the top right, your name, the hardcore. I agree. Like, I look at it like this. If you think you can't get Canelo right, then you should be just, all right, fine, I'll take out Morel. You don't want to fight me now? I'll take out this guy. Just take out every top guy and be like, what, bro? You can't run. You know, you can't run. And now I know it's not as easy as that, but I think Canelo is, I've never seen a fighter even, well, I would have to say maybe Floyd, but I'm not saying any of us said it, but we've heard people say that all Canelo does is cherry picks. Somebody told me he cherry picked 168, the champions. How do you cherry pick a whole division, bro? How do you cherry pick the champions? I mean, it's because I feel, but I also feel like because he is number one, or he's supposedly the face of boxing, that doesn't necessarily mean I feel like he gets a pass though not to fight David. You know, gotcha. But so.
No, people got the right to be upset, but upset ain't gonna do nothing but bring down heartache, because at the end of the day, Canelo gonna still be able to do what he want to do.
Yeah.
Well, at the end of the day, it all depends on what the broadcaster wants to put on. If they don't like the fight, they're not going to put it on. Just like they didn't like the Charlo fight. Charlo fight didn't get put on, so they fought Munguia. So if there's nobody else to fight, and the fans don't buy the pay-per-view, and the broadcaster doesn't approve the opponent, right? Then technically Canelo really can't do whatever he wants. I mean, he's got to deal with the broadcaster. He's got to deal with the promoter. I know he's a promoter himself. He's got a promoter's license, but again, if Amazon and PBC decide that there's nobody else, we can't pay you what you want to get paid. If you want to fight Berlanga, then the Berlanga fight's not going to get made, just like the Charlo fight didn't get made. The fights have to get approved, and the fans have to buy them. The market will dictate what happens. Like
there's no more Munguias left where you can just say, "Oh, Mexico, the Mexican fan base." Yeah, there's nothing after. Yeah.
He's gonna fight David. Don't worry.
I hope you're right, man. I hope you're right. All of you guys have made excellent points tonight. Even the points against my points, everybody's made an excellent point. Yeah, it's good shit.
There's nobody else. You can't fight for
sure.
Yes, well, look, a lot of people.
We could do a whole show on this, but we're gonna keep it moving. Look, there's a lot of fights to go over. So let's get started with the zone on Saturday. Actually, we'll come back to fighting a little bit, but Saturday, Arsen Goulimarian, I hope I pronounced that right, the current WBA champion, fighting Gilberto Ramirez. That's Zurdo. Zurdo tries to capture another world title on his quest to conquer now a third division. I don't know how successful he'll be outside of this opponent, but he is actually the favorite. I don't know how to feel about this fight because he did fight in a catchweight against Smith, but we just don't know how his opponents are going to maybe handle his punches. Is he going to be, how's his punch resistance going to be against these bigger guys? We just don't know. If there's any positives for him, he's not going to have to be doing all that weight cutting, so he's going to be more comfortable. And he's probably going to enjoy being, maybe the faster guy against a lot of these cruiserweights. He couldn't do against a Bill, for example. Base, do you like Zurdo's chances in this fight?
I mean, he's got a chance. He's the home fighter, so obviously a lot of these which we're going to talk about, I can't actually give my predictions because, as you guys know, I've got my the show that I'm gonna do tomorrow with all my picks on it. But what I will say is, yes, he's got a very good chance because it's in Golden Boy's best interest to make sure he has a very good chance. So provided he comes into the ring on weight and in shape and has, a decent work rate and, doesn't tire out, and can sort of maintain at least for 7 rounds, doesn't hit the canvas, doesn't get knocked out, he's got a very good chance. Am I picking him? People will have to tune into my stream tomorrow to find out. But yes, there is a chance. He's not a rank outsider, and he's got, if he's ever gonna win a belt, this now or never, basically.
All right. Joe Beeb, talk to us. How do you see this fight?
You made an excellent point, and I was thinking the same thing, and I saw it even against Joe Smith. Joe Smith wasn't even a cruiserweight either, but I looked at Gulamarian. I've watched a couple of his fights, and he's a little bit ponderous, a little bit slow. He's kind of a clubber, throws wider shots. He's more of a mid-range to inside guy. And Ramirez can hold his own on the inside, but he also is very capable on the outside. He knows how to use his length, and he's got a very great jab. I think he's, like you said, speed. I think he will have a speed advantage over a lot of guys at this weight. He's pretty nimble at this weight in comparison to some of these other cruiserweights, in my opinion. And I think that will be the difference here. I think his speed and his ability to fight on the outside and throw the straighter shots inside of the wider shots of Gulamarian, I think he'll be able to get there first, and I think he'll be able to get there more often. And I believe he should win a decision in this fight. Now, Gulamarian can punch a little bit, but once again, he's a little ponderous, a little slow, and does tend to throw those wider shots. And that's where I think the problem is going to lie for him, because I do think that he'll, get hit up the middle a lot in this fight. And I do think he'll get beat on the outside. I think Ramirez could do some pot shotting in this fight, and I think he'll win a decision. I think he'll win a 12-round unanimous decision, in my opinion.
Okay, all right. Melissa, talk to us. How do you see this fight?
I agree. I think Ramirez Zurdo can do enough. He is a more nimble fighter. I think he really wants it and has a lot of desire for it. For Arsen Goulimarian, I mean, he's been only fought in France except for 2 fights in Belgium. So this will be his American debut. So I think that will have some effect. He's also he has good fighting ability, but he's very muscle bound. He tends to mostly just work upstairs. He doesn't go to the body. I think Zurdo is a more rounded fighter. He has good feet. He can come in and out, and I think he'll be able to get out of the way of some of Arsen Goulimarian's shots and be able to defend well. So I kind of tend to agree that it'll go the distance, but he'll win it on the cards.
Okay. Solomon, talk to us, brother. How do you see it?
I think this fight, I'm going to agree with Melissa on this one, except for I see Zurdo dominating the fight for the reasons you mentioned. I see the muscles. I always see muscles, and I equate muscles with problems in boxing. I think even if it goes late, I think the condition will be an issue. Zurdo, I think, is going to have a field day. And something else we haven't discussed is I believe Arsen hasn't fought since 2022. So you're talking about taking a trip across the pond, first fight outside of first fight across the pond, the layoff, the muscles. I just think it's just the perfect fight for Zurdo to go and win a strap in a new division. I'm predicting a late stoppage, 10-11 round stoppage on this. So that's how I see it playing out. I see the only reason we're talking about this is because Golden Boy hates anything to do with PBC and just wanted to do something to mess with the rates.
Just to let you guys know real quick, with regards to Arsen Goulimarian, he gets stronger and better as the fight goes on. So if you're hoping that Zurdo's going to tire him out down the stretch, it's not going to happen. His best bet is to catch him early. He's one of those guys. He's a late runner, not a front runner, even with the muscles.
The muscles and the inactivity and then the trip. I think those two things are going to factor in with the muscles. Obviously, this was, and that's why I said that. I wouldn't just throw that out there.
What I will say to you though is, with regards to that, the reason a lot of his fights have probably been in France and quote unquote Belgium, maybe testing isn't as stringent. That's all I'm gonna say on that. So
I see.
Please.
Yeah. So say it again. Read between the lines.
Read between the lines. That's right. Just get it. Bumgarner's lawyer. Anyway, Shadow Ghost.
Arsen, it's kind of funny, D-Style, because I've never been a big believer on the whole inactivity always hurts you. I've always thought like this is a combat sport. You take punishment, and sometimes a break is needed as long as you're in the gym and staying in shape. But I remember we were talking, and you kind of talked me into it, where I kind of realized activity does matter. It keeps you sharp, and not only in a different way. So I look at Arsen, and even though he's had inactivity and he's fought most of his fights in France, to me, this is actually a hard fight for me to pick, because I don't have a whole lot of trust in Zurdo. Because when he fought Bivol, I saw a man that almost gave up almost. So and I don't know this guy, if he gets him in trouble, or and I agree too, because I will admit, I'm very transparent. Some of these fighters, one or two of them, I had to look up a couple of fights, and the 2 fights that I saw with them, he did seem like he came on later on in the fight. In the muscle bound, I agree, but not everyone is the same. Some people are just naturally got muscles, man, but it can slow you down. But from what I was seeing, he didn't look muscle bound. Like, he didn't look like he was fatiguing because of his muscles, So if I'm gonna lean towards an upset on this one. I'm gonna lean towards
There we go.
This IOTBA, Zurdo or upset?
Yeah, I'm kind of undecided. Like, I like Zurdo. I like what he's been doing. I like what he done in the sport of boxing, but we done seen a lot of flaws in Zurdo game. And with him going up, to cruiserweight to fight Arsen, a guy who's going to be much bigger than him, a guy like Baz and Go said, who gets stronger as the rounds go on. And this guy does have pop. Zurdo seems to make mistakes at some time. So if Arsen is able to counter off his mistakes, as the later rounds go on, and put a little bit more work ethic on, he could get this victory. But with me saying that, I'm going with Zurdo. I think Zurdo has shown the physical skills, from the north to the south to the east to the west. Like my guy JJ said, the inactivity. I do take that seriously, inactivity with fighters, because when you're on this top level, you can't be that inactive and think that you're going to be able to compete with guys who steady fighting on a regular basis. I got this fight close, but I'm going with Zurdo.
Okay, all right. Let's go back to what's going to happen on Friday here stateside on ESPN Plus. There's 2 fights. Let's first talk about the main event of that night. It's Oscar Valdez versus Liam Wilson. The WBO interim is now on the line, and more than likely the winner will get elevated assuming Navarrete stays at 135 pounds, from my understanding. But it is for the interim belt now, the WBO, that is left behind by Navarrete. So there's something on the line now. I think this is going to be a friendly fight. I think this is a fight of the year candidate, in my personal opinion. And let's go ahead and talk about it here. Solomon, talk to us. Who do you have winning, Valdez or Liam Wilson, and why?
I agree with you, man. This is going to be a fight of the year candidate. We've seen these guys leave their souls in the ring. We've seen it. We have the common opponents. We saw Navarrete. I'll be honest, I was surprised how Valdez looked against Navarrete. I expected him to look good, and I expected boxing to kind of beat the awkwardness, but Navarrete proved me wrong. But then we saw Navarrete on Wilson in a crazy-ass back-and-forth fight. For this fight, I think we're going to have a nice, bloody, action-packed fight. I think people remember the Shakur Stevenson fight with Valdez, and they don't give him a lot of credit for his defense, but I do think Valdez has some underrated defense. I think Valdez is a tighter boxer. I think Liam is just a tough, rugged guy that's going to come in and swing a while. I think we're going to see a lot of body work from Valdez. I think we're going to see a smart, tight fight from Valdez, and I'm going to give Valdez the win in a super eye-pleasing, fan-friendly fight this weekend.
Okay, all right. Shadow Ghost, the Australian or the Mexican? Who you rolling with?
This is gonna be I think this is definitely gonna be a sleeper fight, man. Yeah, this is gonna be. Look, man, this guy showed nothing but heart when he fought Navarrete, man, and dropped him a couple times. And he's got like sneaky power, Wilson. He's got like sneaky power, because like it was almost like even Navarrete was surprised. I'm gonna go with Valdez because I'm just a fan of Valdez, bro. Like, if you was to have a meter of like like from 1 to 10, 10 being the hardest you throw a punch, like every punch he throws is a fastball to 10. I mean, every punch Valdez throws, he's trying to kill you, bro. I just think it's going to be a good fight. Could be multiple knockdowns, but to be honest with you, I don't think I'm going to. I would go with Valdez by decision, unless he could get him out of there. But Liam is definitely going to be dangerous even later in the fight, not only early but later in the fight.
All right, okay, Mr. IOTBA, the Australian or the Mexican? Who do you got in this fight?
I got Valdez. I agree with what Ghost was saying and what JJ was saying. Just, the punch placement of him going to the body and throwing hard shots. And, to me, him just being the better pro boxer, because in time showed us the better pro boxer could beat the brawler. I do know this is going to be a tough fight. And I'm worried for Oscar Valdez because I don't know. I'm picking him, but I don't know if he's the same guy, right? I truly don't know, right? And with Liam Wilson's style, he's able to catch Valdez and able to make Valdez respect him early and take Valdez off of his game. I could see a path for him to win. But just out of respect, I'm going with Oscar Valdez.
All right, okay. Melissa, what do you got? Oh, you're on mute.
You're on mute.
We can't hear you. We can't hear you.
There we are.
Sorry about that, guys.
There you go.
I try to keep on mute so you don't hear me. Anyway, this is a tough one for me because they're both really good fighters, and I mean Valdez, he's been around longer. He's got 23 KOs out of 31 fights. He's very versatile in the ring and a very strong champion. So that is on the one hand, and then I see Wilson, who even though he lost to Navarrete, he's really been coming. He fought him in a really strong way. His last 2 bouts, he's bounced back, and he's very hungry. And he also has very effective body work. His KO was that amazing hook to it was almost like it was a really good shot. So I think it's going to be a very close, real battle and war, which I like because they both want to win this fight. They have a lot of good reasons to want to win the fight. To me, it's a toss-up. If I have to really go for it, I'll say Wilson, just because I think he's hungry. And I see him really trying to fight hard to get some respect and to really plot out his game and his future in the sport.
Okay. All right. Joe Beebe, what do you got in this one down there in Glendale, Arizona?
Very similar styles, but I think the difference is the durability and just the overall grit from Valdez, because Liam Wilson's been stopped a couple times, not just by Navarrete, but he's been stopped earlier in his career, not too long ago. And the thing about Valdez is he's got a very strong, tough, tight defensive construct where even when he gets hit, he knows how to tuck his chin, roll the shots, kind of brace himself for these shots. Liam Wilson, when he gets hit, you see his head really snap back and get knocked off kilter. And I think that's going to be the difference here because these guys are both going to exchange. It's probably going to be a phone booth type affair, but the difference is going to be Valdez is just going to get low, tuck his chin. He's really going to be – it's really going to be hard for Liam Wilson to knock Valdez off his square in this fight, in my opinion. And Valdez could counterpunch a little bit too. And I think he's got a little bit more boxing ability than people give him credit for. And as mentioned, his defense is, like I said, better than people think. So I think Valdez is going to stop Liam Wilson probably in about 9 or 10 rounds, in my opinion. I think it'll be a war as long as it lasts. But I do think Valdez will break him down on the inside. And I think the body work and the uppercuts on the inside will pay dividends for Valdez. And I think Liam Wilson will not be able to withstand, the pressure and the volume from Valdez on the inside.
I love those phone booth fights, by the way.
Facts.
Looking forward to
Those
it.
are good ones.
Base, what do you got?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at this in terms of their records, this is very much that grizzled old vet against the young, hungry lion. And can he basically does he have one last dance in him, one last hurrah into the sunset? Um, the one thing I'll say about Oscar Valdez, I mean, technically, as an actual boxer with skills and abilities, he is actually a better boxer than Liam Wilson. What I do think, the biggest issue, which is what obviously Mr. IOTBA said, is that how many wars has he been in? Valdez has made hard work of some fairly pedestrian opponents in the past, and that's purely because he just wanted to be in a tear-up rather than doing the smart play, which is obviously great for us. But his punch resistance and his ability to absorb punches, we've seen, even though he hasn't been stopped in these fights, he visibly is wearing those shots a lot more on him, fight by fight, as opposed to how he was before. So yeah, it's about, can he muster the energy up one more time? Because to me personally, I feel like he might be able to get the vacant title if Navarrete moves up, if he were to win this fight. But I really feel like this is probably his last fight at that elite level, that upper level, because again, there's only so much damage that the body can take. But yeah, with that being said, there's it's a very intriguing fight. I'm looking forward to it. I will give my prediction tomorrow, but that's my keys to victory. I think Liam Wilson's, he's got enough in there, but Valdez, it's all about, if he's still got a little bit left in the tank, then he is rightfully the favorite.
I like both guys, obviously. For those that haven't seen it, I actually interviewed both guys. You could check out on my videos here on this channel. You could check out like a highlight clip of that if you guys are interested after the show. Not right now, after the show. I think this is a very intriguing fight. Both guys actually have a really good amateur career. They had a really good amateur career. Obviously, Valdez, two-time Olympian, had a better amateur career. And I do agree, as just from a pure boxing aspect, he is the better boxer of the two. But Liam Wilson not too shabby himself. But the one thing Liam Wilson does have is size on Valdez. I think Liam Wilson has a really good jab that I think is going to give Valdez a little bit of some problems. And the problem with Valdez lately, anyway, is that he's been trying to find that big home run shot since the Purcell fight. I mean, he's just looking for that big shot, high guard, patient, I guess, but a little too patient. And it just hasn't really been working out for him. Now, in defense to him, they put him in there with some very defensive-minded guys or awkward guys, right? That's basically the type of guys he's been fighting lately. Now he's going to be fighting someone who's more offensive-minded, who's not going to be hard to find. It's going to be a great fight, as everybody said. So I think Valdez will look better in this fight, but I don't know, man. If you could hurt Navarrete, that tells me you could crack. That's what that tells me.
Yeah, he could punch.
Okay,
bro.
and he dropped him, and he hurt him later in the fight as well. And not only that, I have every reason to believe that Navarrete and his team pulled some shenanigans at the scale, and it was a lot heavier in that fight. Okay, Liam Wilson was not 126 pounds that night. That tells me this dude was 4 pounds over, right? Now, maybe Navarrete overlooked Liam Wilson. It's possible, right? Probably thought to himself, maybe didn't get up for the fight. Who knows? But what I know is this. I do think Liam Wilson could hit hard enough to hurt Valdez and vice versa. I think it's going to be a great fight. I see both guys getting hurt. And I am actually picking Liam Wilson to win. And the main reason, the main reason is, first of all, I'm not counting out Valdez could win the fight as well. Don't get me wrong. Right? And I'm a fan of Valdez. It's nothing personal, but it is what it is. Liam Wilson actually has he actually has like a really good training camp this time. He didn't have like the best training camp on the last time when he came over here. This time they're in where Tim Tszyu's training at, so the resources are there. He's got the sparring partners that could emulate Valdez, something he couldn't possibly have against Navarrete even if they wanted to. But the preparation's better. This is going to be a better version of Liam Wilson than the one that actually fought Navarrete. So you know, and there we go.
Hey, that Navarrete version of Liam Wilson would make a great fight. So if what you're saying is true, this is going to be a hell of a fight.
Well, there you go. All right. Now let's get to the main event of the evening. All right. Let me start off with our friend Chalico. She's going to have to go in a little bit.
Thank you so much.
But
and I'm sorry, D-Style. I apologize, man.
You're cool. But Seniesa Estrada against Valle. Who do you got in this fight, Shadow?
Man, that's gonna be a war, but I'm going with Estrada, man. I'm going with Estrada. I always go with her anyway. So, man, the other girl, I looked up her last. The fight with Ortiz, I think it was Ortiz. Man, she showed tremendous heart, bro. I mean, because the other girl was I like it when a woman has heart, because you know, a lot of times when you watch the female fights, usually one overtakes the other pretty quickly, and very rare do we have like a back and forth war like that. And I think we might see that with this fight, but I am going to go with Estrada, and that's simply because I always go with Estrada when she fights. That's really the only thing. I can't really break it down. It doesn't matter how it would have broke it down, because I would have went for her anyway. So, you know what I mean? So,
okay. All right. Well, Shadow, I appreciate it.
Thank you, man. Thank you, everybody.
Hey, good meeting you, bro. Hey, good night. That was good stuff, bro.
All right, have a good one, brother. And Melissa, talk to us. This is a big fight here. Who do you got?
This is a huge fight. This is an undisputed battle between two absolute pound-for-pound warriors. Seniesa Estrada is a really extraordinary fighter. She has 2 of the belts. She's fighting. This is the first undisputed at minimum weight. They'll also fight for the ring title. And Yokasta Valle, I'll talk about her first because fans may know a little less about her. She's from Costa Rica, but she trains with Gloria Alvarado. So she really has sort of she's gaining sort of an American perspective on her fight style. This is a woman that sells out stadiums with 30, 40,000 people in her home town of, in Costa Rica. She's just a national icon. So, and she has really good fighting style. She has a beautiful jab. She has good footwork. And even though she doesn't go a lot to the body, she's a very physical fighter. She knows, as a savvy infighter, she will grab a fighter. She'll grab her opponent if to break up momentum. I mean, and she's very physical, and she stands at like 5'4", and when you're at 108 pounds and 5'4", that's quite a lot. And she's very muscular, but not over muscled. And she's just she does beautiful work in the ring. And as I said, she uses a lot of lead hooks, usually from one, and some 1-2s. She's not a very big combination fighter. And as I said, she doesn't go a lot to the body. For Seniesa Estrada, who started out, she was only the second fighter with Golden Boy. She's 25-0. She's got 9 KOs. She is the absolute definition of an unorthodox fighter. She fights. She's a right-handed fighter, but she constantly switches it up in the ring. She sizing up her opponent. She'll in one round, she'll switch 3 or 4 or 5 times. She uses a lot of right hand leads to get the attention of her opponents. She does beautiful body work. When she uses her jab, it's beautiful. And she really is able to switch stances, fight from all angles, lead with her right hand, do a lot of body work. That having been said, she had hand surgery following her fight this summer. And so this fight with Yokasta Valle is her first bout after surgery. So that's a little bit of a question in terms of how she will be able, whether there's any ring rust from that, whether there's any anxiety that's caused from that because of the comeback from surgery. If you've seen any of her tape on YouTube, or she looks fantastic. She'll throw, just do an entire round of hooks. So I think she's a really strong fighter, but this is going to be an absolute battle. from end to end. I wouldn't be surprised if we probably won't see the kind of punch count of Amanda Serrano and Erica Cruz at nearly 2,000 punches, but we're going to see a lot of work in the ring. And at the end of the day, I'm going to go with Estrada, but it's going to be a really hard-fought contest from end to end across 10 rounds.
All right. Base, how do you see this fight?
You know, as I was saying before, not about not giving predictions, but I'll actually give this one. Melissa, I love your breakdown, but it's not going to be competitive at all. Seniesa Estrada is way more talented than Yokasta Valle. She's got a good work rate, and she's got heart and determination. But in terms of her tactical nous, it's not really up to par. Now she will probably try to out throw Seniesa, but Senesa's good on the counter punching, and if she gets a moment on that front foot and her hand is actually okay, I'd put decent money on her actually stopping Valle. So I think it's going to be Seniesa Estrada by quite comfortable domination. We're talking 8 rounds to 2 maximum. I think Valle is going to get his 3 rounds. Anything other than that, I'll be totally shocked. And yeah, new Undisputed. And yes, I guess Valle can go back to selling out stadiums in Costa Rica afterwards.
Man, all right. Okay. Israel TBA, Valle or Estrada? Who you got?
Yeah, I got Estrada, man. She's just too good. I agree with Bass, man. This not gonna be close. She's a very beautiful woman, and everybody could see that on the outside. But in the inside, she is a true dog who likes to fight. And when she fights her tail off. I'm with Bass. I don't think this fight gonna be close. I think Estrada, is the real deal, and she will be undisputed that night.
Hold on, I don't know what happened with my mic there. Hold on. All right there. Okay. All right, Joe Beeb, Dennis Estrada or Yokasta Valle. Who you got?
This is a tight fight. The odds makers have this almost a pick 'em. Like Estrada's like a little bit over, like just close to a 2-1 favorite here. Valle, I like the pace of Valle. I like the foot speed of Valle. She's got great footwork. She can move in and out. And Estrada is the counterpuncher. But I do think she's never really been in with someone like this who's quick. And as Melissa said, she is very strong physically on the inside, but she doesn't stay there all the time. She can move. She'll go in, she'll go out, she'll reset on you. She gives you different looks. I think she's a lot more versatile than people give her credit for. And I'm gonna be honest with you. I think she's gonna outwork Seniesa, because I think Seniesa is gonna lay back and try to be the counterpuncher. And I do think she can get outworked, out-muscled here. Just going to be honest. I'm going with the upset here.
Joe, Tina Ruprecht was quicker than Yokasta Valle, and she beat her soundly.
You say that, but you have to see it in the
I'm with
ring.
Beeb.
You have to see it in the ring.
I'm with Beeb on this. Like I thought I was. Yeah, I thought I was going to be the only one pulling the upset card here. I think she's going to outwork her. I think we'd be silly to not talk about the broken hand. I think it was Melissa, right? Melissa, you brought up the broken hand. If you've ever broke your hand, you understand how worried you are. I don't give a damn if it's a year or 2 years. This is her first fight, guys, and she's fighting Valle. Valle's output is out there. Valle doesn't have the American marketability that Estrada does, which is, well, I can't say the same. I can't say base is falling for the American marketing, but it's easy to pick Seniesa because here's the thing I'm not going to deny. Both these women can box. Like two great boxers, two skill sets, two women with boxing IQ. But I think the broken hand, I think I just see Valle outworking her. And I think Seniesa gets a little bit, she gets too emotional, man. Yep. And when I saw her against Tina, she got hit a whole bunch. Yes. I think the scorecard should have been a little bit closer. She got hit. Yeah, that was a tight fight against Tina. She got hit a whole lot. So for that and the injury, I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna say Valle pulls off the upset.
And one last point.
Valle's
One last
training
point.
with her old coach as well, so Estrada already knows how she's going to be training in those camps. I'm just saying that too.
You know, and her old coach is going to tell her what Estrada does too. It's a bonus.
I got two to the street.
Well, the other thing too is, you know, one thing, Valle also has a very high guard, and Estrada does not have a guard. You know, Estrada's defense is her offense, and
she's a counterpuncher. She's a counterpuncher.
She's getting hit all the time. In her last fight with Utica, she got hit a lot.
Yeah.
So you know, those are the negatives for me, but the talent are the positives for me. That's the talent is extraordinary.
So one last point. I'm sorry, D-Style. It's not only the speed too. Melissa made a great point. She's a strong girl. She's a very strong, gritty, tough girl, and she's bigger, and she knows how to use that size. She's big for the weight, and she knows how to use that size. Plus, she's got speed to go on top of that. So that's
But the one thing I think that's what's gonna give Valle problems is she don't go to the body, and so Estrada is gonna go to the body, and I think that is going to be the key ingredient of her getting this victory. She's going to slow that high pressure that Valle do down with them body punches as the fight go on. That's my opinion. We will see though.
Are they 3-minute rounds? Are we doing 2 or 3?
No, this is 2 because it's WBC.
It doesn't sound like she has a lot of time to work the body. I don't know. It's only 2-minute rounds, but here's what
she works the body beautiful.
It's women boxing though.
So here's the thing. Surgery in the right hand, right?
I'm not sure. Yeah.
I think it was the right hand, wasn't it?
She had a torn ligament and it couldn't be reattached. So yeah, that's where she had surgery.
So she had surgery in the right hand. If
may not even be fully healed.
Correctly. And she's an orthodox fighter. I haven't seen did somebody find Seniesa's jab? I haven't seen her use it for the last 4 or 5 fights.
Well, she used it in her last fight against Utica. She was much. In fact, she really wasn't switching much with Utica.
Well, maybe because she had issues with the right hand.
Yeah, I think that was the point.
But if in order for her to not, she's gonna need her right hand in this fight.
Hey, listen, and we see Seniesa as some sort of killer. They both only have 9 knockouts. Hey, you know, at the end of the day, and my bad, I didn't mean to interrupt you, D.
You're cool. But here's the thing. With all that said, right hand, tough opponent. She might outwork her. She's popular in Costa Rica, South State. I get it, right? She's confident. She believes she could win. Those are the most dangerous opponents. But here's the thing. I honestly believe this. In my opinion, Seniesa Estrada is a special fighter, and she's going to find a way to win that fight. I just believe that, right? And in these type of fights, fighters like that they don't just rise to the occasion, they shock everybody. So I do think she might. I think it's a great fight, great opponent. Obviously, they're both unified champions. It's for Undisputed, but I think Seniesa Estrada is going to rise to the occasion, and I think she's going to show the best of herself. And I think she's going to put it all together. And even if something goes wrong with that hand, fighters find a way to win. And she's going to find a way to win this fight. So I believe that, right? So I'm not going to bet against Seniesa Estrada until I see somebody beat her. Until I see it.
This is Crawford Spence.
She went up in weight and outclassed a really good fighter in Esparza.
Marlon Esparza, yeah.
So at the end of the day, and Esparza's current unified champion herself, right? And this was not her natural weight class. She was a little girl in there, right? That's just the truth. So at the end of the day, I think she's going to find a way to win this fight, right? Now, I get that Valle has something else to say about that, but that's how we fight the fights. If the Briscoe win, I'm going with a girl from East LA. I still can't believe Austria's not promoting her. I mean,
I can't believe it too, man. That's crazy.
You're from East LA. She's from East LA. Well, what are you doing, Oscar? You know what I mean?
She was, and then bad blood. between those two, and she went over to Top Rank, which was a shame. And
I
the
believe
whole reason that Valle went to Golden Boy was because of she wanted to fight Estrada.
Well, she actually signed after Estrada left, and she kind of
Yeah,
knew
but
she was leaving. So
yeah, but okay.
So, with that said, we'll see what happens with that. Okay. Let's go to Saturday night. Back to Saturday night. We got, first of all, I need everybody on this panel to put respect on Isaac Cruz's name. Every single one of you are going to put respect on his name. But I got Isaac Cruz. I'm just going to put it out. I think he's going to knock Raleigh out. I think Raleigh Romero is the worst champion in all of boxing. He's the worst champion he's the worst champion, period. Worse than any chess champion, MMA champion, any hopscotch, slap.
He says the nicest things about you.
You know, I'm sure he does, but I mean, he's such a smart guy. He turned out a big money to fight Ryan to be on the undercard of this fight for less money. I mean, I don't know, but he's such an intelligent dude. But I think Isaac Cruz, the Pitbull, is going to run rabbit on this guy. All right, and I think he's going to knock him out late. That's how I feel about it. I'm not impressed with Roddy Romero. I never have. He shouldn't even be a world champion right now. Roddy Romero, that old man was putting hands on him, bro. He was giving him a boxing lesson. And then because he landed a couple shots, I think he was going to stop him. Of course he was, Joe. Of course he was on his way to stop him, Joe Beeb. Of course. We're going to get you, Beeb. Of course Roddy was about to stop him. He was it was about to happen, but no. I don't think so. Those punches weren't even landing, bro.
That was awful, man.
You gotta respect the power, brother. You gotta respect the power. It's real.
That was terrible.
When he missed, the air was so powerful that it was hurting Barroso, right? But all I know is Tony Weeks was horrible. Look, I get that it's hard to overturn decisions because it's a subjective sport, but how do you not turn over that? Those punches weren't even landing.
You can't go back in time.
Yeah, you can't just start them back over in the middle of the round.
This is back to the future.
And
back
20
to the
weeks, Poporo, O'Hara Davies had to feel the wrath of the old man, but Apocalypse put hands on him, and it was a wrap. But with that said, Raleigh Romero can put it together and win this fight, Mr. IOTB, against the Pitbull.
Yeah, I got Rowley winning. I know everybody, enamored, but Pitbull, he look like your little dog. You know what some little dogs will be with the little squiggly face, and you can just rub them, and they're so lovable, and the front. But I don't see nothing special about this guy. Like I give him his credit for being on this level. But when we're talking about Pitbull Cruz, his moment in time where everybody is just clapping their hands, stomping their feet, and shouting for joy is when he when he fought a one-handed tank. I'm not impressed by that. Right? I'm simply not. Because if we're gonna do the litmus test, I know Rolly got knocked out, but Rolly was fighting a guy who had two hands, and Pitbull was fighting a guy who had one hand, and Rolly was successful against Tank Davis in them early rounds. I know people may not like Rolly. I know people may think, the old man, they're feeling sorry. The old man who looked like he about 50 should have got the
hands
title.
on him.
But I think Rolly is going to catch him right up the middle when you see that little ball of fire just coming straight, and I think Rolly going to catch him with him.
Hey, Mr. IOTBA, Tank was throwing both hands until Cruz blocked one of the uppercuts, and that's when he hurt his hand.
Yeah, I know.
He winded up that punch very wide, and then when it got blocked and he hurt his hand, all of a sudden, I was fighting with that. Was it that, or did he cherry pick and he was embarrassed that this dude was putting hands on him? I think that's what really happened.
Everybody knows Tank had hand problems. I mean, shout out to Pitbull Cruz. He deserved to be where he at, but like I stated, everybody is overrating this guy. Like I said, he's one of them characters. He's a Mexican guy. We know Mexicans run the sport of boxing, and they like guys like that. right? But I just don't think he has the skill set or the power to beat Rolly. And this guy's coming up 140 pounds for the first time.
Man,
I don't know, dog.
Go
I
ahead,
think
Solomon.
like Rolly. Oh man, I'm one of the guys who, okay, I love Deontay Wilder's story, but I hate watching Deontay Wilder box because, you know, that's not really boxing to me. Same thing with Rolly. Like, what is that? You just, I'm with you. Isaac Pitbull Cruz, I think he's going to win this fight. I think Rolly's going to get clipped. I think Rolly's going to get outworked. But I don't know how, like, did y'all see Ismail Salas doing some head movement with Rolly? Like, now, I will say something. I don't believe Rolly can learn boxing in one training camp and Ismail Salas is his savior. But if Rolly did learn a little bit of something, some head movement, anything that's not just one big giant power shot, maybe we could be talking about something here. But with that being said, I don't think he's had enough time. He hasn't had any real in-ring experience with new training. No disrespect to Bullet. I do think Salas teaches him a new thing or two. But with all that being said, Isaac Cruz, I feel like outworks him. I think he shows to the world how terrible a mistake Tony Weeks made.
I'm telling Isaac Cruz, sick him, boy.
Cuddly Cruz.
Who do you got in this fight, Joe? You got Rolly Romero. You got Pitbull Cruz.
Gonna have to go with Pitbull Cruz here because Rolly does tend to overshoot that right hand a lot, and he does kind of lean in face first sometimes, and does, you know, throw that punch where his elbow goes over his knee, and he does kind of overextend that right hand a lot. And I think Isaac Cruz will catch him with the left hook counter because he'll be right there face first, right into it. And I think that's going to be the punch. The left hand took him out against Tank, and the left hand's going to take him on here just from the lead position because, again, he's just going to be a little too over aggressive. He's going to be a little bit reckless, and I think he's going to get caught, and that's going to be the end of him. I think he's probably going to get stopped maybe in about 7 rounds in this fight, to be honest with you. I think Isaac Cruz is going to be able to time him on the way in.
Okay. Melissa, what do you got?
Yeah, I've got Isaac Cruz as well. I just love that crouching style that he has. He covers up. He uses the ring. He goes upstairs. He goes downstairs. He counterpunches. I think he's going to really expose Romero and be able to take him in the later rounds. I wouldn't be surprised by a stoppage in the late rounds.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, Base. Well, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, this is another one I'm quite happy to give away the pick, primarily because we don't actually get to watch it over here unless you're paying £20 to watch on Triller TV, which I'm not going to do. Isaac Cruz, very easy night. The Ismail Salas thing initially made me think, oh, okay, because Salas he may not be able to work wonders, but he always gets people working in their rhythm. The problem with Rolly Romero is you can clearly see that he doesn't listen. He doesn't pay attention, and he never follows through with the instructions that he's given on a consistent basis. He's the kind of person that feels like, all right, you can show me the basics, but I'm good enough. I'll do it myself. I'll figure it out. And unfortunately, just like with learning a language, he figured it out too late against Tank and against Barroso, and because of that, he's just going to be a sitting duck for those looping shots coming in from Isaac Cruz. And the guy from Mexico City and that high altitude, that extra 5 pounds is not going to reduce his work rate. He's going to be swarming all over Rolly the entire fight. And that little, the judo training you think he had from back in the day is not going to help him keep that rabid dog off of him. He's getting knocked out 9 rounds at max. And that's being generous.
Shout out to Boss Historian. Over under. The PBC does 200,000 buys on Amazon. I'm going to go with under. That's what I think it'll do, but we'll see. Under for sure. If they can do 200,000, I think they'll be happy with that.
But what y'all not recognizing about Rolly is, I know y'all speaking so highly of, this guy who just throw a bunch of punches and come forward with his head down. Rolly is the more proficient puncher, in my opinion. And in boxing, you got to give a little to get a little. We know that Cruz has to come in to beat Rolly at his game, and coming in, it will be consequences and repercussions. The question is, how many big punches is Cruz going to be able to take from the bigger, stronger guy at 140? That's just my opinion.
Okay. I mean, obviously, you have to fight the fights, but I don't know. I just think Cruz is a more polished fighter. His punches are crisper. I think Rolly Romero's more awkward, maybe, and a little more clubbing, in my opinion. I don't know if he's going to have issues with the compact Cruz. Cruz going to compact himself, and in the exchange, is going to get the best of Rolly, I think.
Got to time him coming out of that crouch because it's going to get low. You don't know what's coming at you.
I don't understand how someone with no chin always manages to get caught every fight. Like, that's really crazy.
Because he lunges base. It's not only his chin; it's the way that he lunges in and he just leans. He overshoots his punch.
No, but I know, but it's amazing. He has no chin to speak of, yet it always gets hit. Like, how are they finding such a tiny target? Is clearly because
you're talking about this is facial structure. You're talking about.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, I mean, when you're going face first, you don't have to hit the chin. You can hit like right in the mouth, whatever.
And
last nerves right there are very sensitive.
A couple of weeks ago, there was all this talk about the thick neck of Ngannou and how nobody can knock him out because he's had such a thick neck.
I was
good
I was touting that thick neck. I didn't know he was going to get stopped like that.
There's only one guy with that thick neck that won't get knocked out, and that's Isaac Cruz.
Hey, I want to make. Oh yeah, go ahead.
No, that's all I had to say.
No, I was going to throw a disclaimer. Like, yeah, I'm picking Cruz, but I don't want y'all to think by any means I think he's this excellent boxer and all that. But ILTV, what you said is absolutely true. I mean, he's going to have to take some risk in these fights, especially if he wants to get the finish. And if he does that, he does leave himself vulnerable to a big shot. Question is, can Rolly put it together? I say no, but I picked that pick confidently, but that doesn't by any means make me believe that Isaac Cruz is some sort of.
Let's define boxer for a second. So when people say boxer, they usually mean outboxer, right? I mean, is that what you mean? Like so, Cruz is a really good inside fighter. That's still boxing, right?
For sure.
He's good, and his wheelhouse is the inside. Like. And I don't care. Like, people keep making all these excuses for Tank. The Tank, he had one hand. Tank had baby mama drama. Tank had this. Tank had that. Tank this. Look, bro. Like he gave Tank all he could handle. I scored it for Isaac Cruz. I scored 7-5 for Cruz. And they try. You know what they did after that fight? Floyd Mayweather and Tank Davis started to gaslight people, right? And try to convince people, it wasn't a tough fight. I mean, plus my hand was injured. So, well, if it wasn't a tough fight, why are you bringing up the hand? Like the whole thing doesn't make sense to me. And like they try to put in people, that's why it was a tough fight. His hand was hurt. But what they don't tell you, actually watch the fight. Tank Davis was swinging for the fences with that hand until he hurt the hand on the guard of Cruz.
Yeah. Tank Davis loses rounds and his power bails him out. He couldn't get Cruz out of this. 100%. Bail him out.
Yep.
He loses rounds, bro.
That's his style. That's what he does. He was losing rounds against Rolly. He was losing rounds against Ryan. Does that say anything about their boxing ability? No. That's just what Tank does. Which opens up my whole different.
Santa Cruz was getting to him before he got stopped.
He sure was, yeah. Oh, I thought details. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, and listen, how many times has the big superstar completely overlooked this up-and-comer? Isaac Cruz was unheard of before Tank Davis fought him. He learned a very valuable lesson. Don't underestimate your opponent, especially if it's a really hungry guy they call a Pitbull.
Look, I knew about him. He got knocked out in the first round. He knocked out Magdaleno in one round. I mean, Magdaleno couldn't find his legs after he landed flush on him. And Magdaleno was a tough dude. It took Teofimo a couple rounds to take him out. So all I'm saying is, right, is that I believe Isaac Cruz is underestimated. Now, I get that not everybody's a big Isaac Cruz fan. Everyone has that fighter they like that nobody else likes. That's me with Isaac Cruz. It is what it is. But we're going to keep it moving. Okay.
That was a good
Let's talk about the main event, guys, and then I do gotta get running after this because I gotta plan some stuff. But let's talk about this main event on Amazon Prime. It is Tszyu versus Fundora, last minute replacement, totally different to Keith Thurman. He's 6'6", not 5'7", right? He is he fights completely different to Keith Thurman. The styles are nowhere identical at all, for good or for bad, obviously. And the stance, southpaw. Now, for those, just for everybody's aware, they were already sparring southpaws for a good number of weeks when they believed they were going to fight Lubin. The PBC side tells them, hey, Lubin's a no-go. Do you want Thurman? They took the Thurman fight, and then they switched sparring to orthodox. So they already were sparring some southpaws early in training camp. I don't know if that matters to any of you, but just putting that out there. And here we are. Joe Beeb, can this be a banana skin, in your opinion? Or will the Towering Inferno be put out by Tszyu?
You know, Sebastian Fundora was winning every round before he got stopped against Mendoza. And I do think he's a very solid fighter. I think he's a tough out for anyone. But I'm very high on Tszyu. I think Tszyu is a very efficient fighter. He's a very accurate puncher. He's really good on the inside and the mid-range. And it's kind of unique the way he uses his jab, because he uses his jab almost like a power punch. You know what I mean? He has a good sense of range, and he doesn't even like really throw that jab as a rangefinder. He just throws it like as a stiletto type power punch, and he really knows how to knock people back with it. And once he knocks people off balance with it, he just steps in very hard and just comes in with the right hand, goes up underneath with body shots, changes levels very well. I like Tszyu a lot. I think he's a very very versatile fighter. And Sebastian Fundora, I think, for whatever reason, always finds himself, you know, up close in the mid-range, deep in the pocket. He's tall, he's long, but he's not going to stay outside. He just never does. And because he's going to get close, he's going to have to loop those shots because his arms are so long. And I just think that's going to be a problem for him because, again, like I said, Tszyu knows how to thread that needle with those pinpoint accurate shots up the middle and up and underneath. I think Tszyu is going to get a stoppage here in about 9 rounds. About 9 rounds, I see it. I just think that Fundora is going to just get worn down with the body shots, and then eventually he's going to start to slow down, and Tszyu is going to come up with an uppercut, right uppercut, left hook combination, probably take him out.
All right. Base, what do you got?
Lubin dropped him, Mendoza stopped him, and unfortunately, Tszyu is going to end his career at 154. A person the size of Sebastian Fundora should not be competing at 154. He's got no legs, he's got no balance, he has no punch resistance, and that's been evident. He's been able to be that weight bully up until, you know, it didn't work. And now we're going to see against someone that's actually a proper sized, you know, dog of a man, just a beast of a man from, remember, those Russian mountains, even though, and he's Australian, so he's got that hybrid toughness in him. Like, you're not surviving that. You hang your chin out too much, you don't keep behind the jab, you collapse the pocket too much, you're not going to out muscle and out strength this guy on the inside. You're going to get caught with body shots that's going to fold you over. Them uppercuts is going to hit you the same way they hit Tony Harrison. Like, it's just going to be a nightmare. And he's either going to end up at 168 in like 2 years' time with a bit more like body mass, or he's going to be at the game probably just being the water boy for his sister. And that's how I see the fight playing out.
It's just going to be a corner man now.
It's a pretty gloomy outlook.
Mr. IOTVA, can this be a banana skin here?
Yeah, I got Sebastian Fundora. You know, the problem that I don't like, you know, with fans across the world, you know, every fighter has deficiencies, and if you fight long enough, you're gonna take a loss. But The thing is, it's about how you handle that loss after you take it. And that's my favorite part about the sport of boxing. When you see a guy who rides so high, he take that loss. How are you gonna mentally capable and be capable and strong enough to show you still got that heart of a champion? When I look at Sebastian Fundora, he never wavered. You know he was winning every round of that fight against Mendoza. Hey, kudos. Mendoza, you called him. You knocked him out. But for every second of them rounds, Fundora was beating his tail, right? He was beating him up, right? And like Fundora stated in the interview he was doing, he said, the one thing about that loss that showed me is to be smart. I think, and like you stated earlier, D-Style, you say he was training for a southpaw early. And you said that might not mean nothing to y'all. Well, I'm one of them. That means nothing to me. Because this guy was in a full-fledged training camp for a right-handed short fighter and Keith Thurman. Now he's getting thrown this curveball to go up against a 6'6" southpaw who throw punches from all angles. Remember I told y'all you got to give a little to get a little? We know Tszyu is the smaller guy. Tszyu is going to have to come in, and with the Inferno and his long reach and his the way he throw punches on the inside, he has a real shot of putting Tszyu on his back. And another thing, everybody talk about like Tszyu so special. Okay, he good, but like this guy's flat-footed. You know, we see him get hit. We done seen him get knocked down before, so it's not impossible. But I think this curveball of him going against this 6'6" guy who he was so locked in on and fighting Keith Thurman, and with the loss that Fundora took, I think he learned from this loss, and I think Fundora is going to shock the world on Saturday night and become the unified middleweight champion of the world.
Okay, all right.
The new
Melissa, and the new
Well,
or still.
I'm going with Tszyu. I like him as a fighter very much. He's got beautiful fundamentals. He's a patient fighter. He doesn't rush. He selects his shots with a lot of intelligence. He's got great feet, great balance. He can come in and out. And, when you saw him in this fight with Harrison, okay, 6'1" is not 6'6", but he really was able to handle a much taller fighter. So and on the other side of it, Sebastian Fundora will end up in the phone booth. He gets enticed into that phone booth, and even though he can be effective, his arms are so long that it's kind of hard for him to really work. And somebody like Tszyu can be in the phone booth with him and then get out and use his feet to work the angles in a way that may be too quick for Fundora. So to me, I see that Tszyu as a fighter just has a lot of really, as I said, a lot of good balance and a lot of capability in the ring. So I think that he will be able to chop down the tree and come out with a late round win.
All right, Solomon, talk to us.
Yeah, man, I have to say, Base, with the exception of my wife every day, I can't remember the last time I agreed 100% with everything somebody said. Like with your breakdown of the fight, I cannot disagree one single bit. And then also, Melissa, you were talking about his intelligence. I literally wrote it in my notes. Tszyu, for me, the biggest thing, I love how he works his distance. I love it because it's a stiff jab, but it's a dangerous jab, but it also helps him keep that distance, keep that range. I think all the fundamentals about Tszyu, he can work inside, he can work outside, but he's smart. He thinks in the ring. And for me, with a lot of these guys, when there's a guy who's that skilled but also uses his brain, that's the X factor for me. Then you talk about the Fundora coming off of a year layoff now. A devastating knockout. Like, you don't just survive something like that. So you have the flash devastating knockout with Fundora, but you also have a war with Erickson Lubin that you don't survive. So he's been through every bad possible ending of a fight. The flash knockout, and even though he got the win against Lubin, that was a brutal war that took a lot out of him. I think we're going to see that. This being a stylistic nightmare, I think, for Fundora, because he loves fighting on the inside when he has no business fighting in there. I don't think he should be fighting this fight. I think we haven't seen how he's going to recover from the terrible knockout. So all that being said, obviously I'm picking Tim Tszyu, and I'm picking Tim Tszyu with the finish. But just playing a little devil's advocate here, Dragon Style, you're talking big Isaac Cruz. How bad did Isaac Cruz look against the Gio Cabrera with that big a height difference? Like, it was a bit of an equalizer. So what if Fundora figures out how to use his distance and figure out how to use that awkwardness with the big puncher? All that being said, it's not happening. I just wanted to sprinkle in that what if on top of it.
Well, Cabrera was running for his life that whole fight. He just ran around the ring like
that was a masterful performance from him.
You know what I mean? But here's what I'll say. There's a fight, for whatever reason, I've had this fight in my head. As I was watching like some Tim Tszyu fights and Sebastian Fundora fights, there's been an image in my head, and I remember, and I went back and I watched it, and I said, that's how this fight's gonna end. And if anybody hasn't seen it, okay, what you're gonna do is after the show, you're gonna look up Ann Wolf versus Vonda Ward.
Oh yeah, okay? For sure.
That's what I picture in this fight. Now, granted, that doesn't mean. Look, if they both had a full training camp, I would be so confident in Tim Tszyu. But in fairness to IOTBA, he's making a great point about the complete change here and what Tim Tszyu's been preparing for. Preparation for a prize fighter is very important, right? 100%. And now they flew in 2 tall dudes, but they had I think maybe 2 sparring sessions. I don't know if that's enough, but it's whatever. We'll see. But I am picking Tim Tszyu. And I think Tim Tszyu hits hard enough to make Fundora pause a little bit. And I do actually believe that Fundora is going to try to do what people have been saying he should do, right? He's going to try to use his long arms and throw the jab. But the reason that it's not going to work for him is that he's not exactly Muhammad Ali in there while he's throwing the jab on the move. He's not even Beebs boy, like he's not even Tyson Fury, right? Where he can move and throw the jab like a gazelle, like he likes to say, right? He can't even do that, right? If he throws his jab at Tim Tszyu, Tim Tszyu's going to slip his jab, and he's going to be like the Statue of Liberty, literally, with a chin up in the air. When you throw the jab, you got to kind of curve it upwards so they don't counter you. He's going to have to throw it downwards, and it's going to be wide open, and he needs to use his feet to get out of there. He doesn't have that ability, Fundora. So if he starts to do that, it's actually going to be worse for him because that's not how you cannot teach an old dog new tricks. I get he's not that old, right? But he's been boxing his whole life. It's too late. Like you need several fights to develop that, and he just didn't. And I'll be honest with you, I don't think his balance is all that great. I don't think he could move like that. I just don't. Right. And I think that's why he stays stationary. Now, look, the uppercuts are deadly. They're long, they're wiry. I've seen him hurt guys. Tim Tszyu doesn't want to get hit with those. But I do see a finish here, and I do see a big right hand and Wolf style. And it's going 9-9.
Yeah, right? It could be an ugly knockout.
I think that's a cliche when you say you can't teach old dog new tricks. I think that's such a cliche. I think you could teach a fighter new things. Now, will they be able to perfect them things? As quick if they had a lot more fights, but you can get them good enough, right, for your opponent to offset and confuse him because, like you said, everybody is looking for Fundora to fight the same way. Fundora is at the height of his career, and the people around him know that. I know y'all think he's going to change back to the same guy, but as a fighter, and this is your moment, and especially him getting knocked out, not even thinking about Tim Tszyu. His opponent, he was going to fight before the Tim Tszyu fight happened. He had that in his mind. His coaches do diligence to make sure this guy's ready because as a fighter, when you take a loss, the smart ones, you go back and you work on things. Is he going to be perfect in these things he try to work? out? No. But I'm telling y'all, Tim Tszyu is I'm just not sold on the guy yet. And I think on Saturday night, Terrence Bud Crawford is gonna have a new fight for the WBO.
Well, no,
yeah,
look,
new opponent.
You can teach an old dog new tricks. The problem is the length of time it takes for that dog to learn it. It's not worth it. Ultimately, he hasn't had a fight since then. So anything you teach him, he's not doing in a pressure situation. He's gonna revert to type because that's all he knows. Your mind isn't malleable enough to keep that disciplined on something you haven't had to repeat on a serious loop. So
Yeah,
he's going to revert to type.
I think the other point too is he came to this fight late, and we're talking about Tszyu and changing up his opponent, but Fundora just came to this fight, so he hasn't necessarily either had the chance to. I mean, he's used to fighting shorter fighters, but this is a big difference.
And Boachuk
That's the point.
is a very
That's the
different
point.
fighter to Tszyu. Boachuk is not an
Is it a
insider or
big
pressure
difference?
fighter. He's a boxer.
Is it a big difference? Is Tim Tszyu who we think he is? You know, is it?
Well, let me ask you this.
No, I
think
mean in
it-
terms of height and the kinds of prep that he has to do for a fight.
Well, to that point, Melissa, most of Fundora's preparation all the time is going to be preparing for a guy that's at least a foot shorter than you. So he's already used to find that. While Tim Tszyu, yeah, he had to make a 180. That's a complete 180 for the first time in his
I
life.
agree on that sense.
So,
But I'm just
again,
saying,
and it's just something to think about. I still think Tim Tszyu is going to finish Fundora ugly, but these are some thinking points that, hey, maybe we can see something because of the short notice.
no,
So-
I agree with you. I'm really more responding to the point about a dog changing, his spots.
Yeah.
What is it that Fundora? What did he learn from the loss? He hasn't had a fight with that. We don't know what he's been doing in the gym. And then he took this fight on short notice. So how is that going to affect that equation, that calculus in the ring?
There was no in-between fight. Yeah, there was no in-between fight.
There's no in between for him to work through those issues. And he's coming in cold almost.
You're right.
To this fight.
This isn't, if you did learn something new, this isn't the environment you want to be able to have to.
Right, because you're now the
Right.
main event. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but I know that they rate Tim Tszyu higher than Arsen, but how many fights have Tim Tszyu had in America? This is his big splash. We know, I saying in Texas is the stars at night are big and bright, deep in the heart of Texas, and them lights are going to be shining bright on Tim Tszyu, a guy who has been comfortable fighting in Australia.
Yeah, but I just think here's the thing though. I don't think there's any pressure here. To be honest with you, I think he's used to this. I think he's used to the doubt. I think he's been hearing that forever. I'm not sold on this guy. He's been hearing that even in Australia. Jeff Hart was telling him if his name was Jeff Smith. If your name was Tim Smith, you wouldn't be where you are right now. You're only because of your dad. Blah blah blah. So he's been hearing that for a while now, right? All I know is this: are you going to be sold after he destroys the Towering Inferno?
No, I'll be, I mean,
is he better than
I don't know how. I don't know how impressed I'll be because it depends on the style and way. No, I know it depends on the style and way he win because the way everybody is talking about Tim Tszyu from where I'm at the 214 to across the pond, they're talking.
They call him the Soul Taker, but after this, they're going to call him the Fireman. Okay.
Fireman.
They call him the Fireman. That's his
I want to say this.
Put the Towering Inferno out. Gonna knock him out in 8. That's all I'm saying. Go ahead.
Okay. No, I was just gonna say most of the time, whenever I hear about a former champion's son boxing, I don't give it a lot of credibility. Okay, cool. You're only here for your name. Out of all the former champ's sons, Tim Tszyu, I respect. I don't even think about Costa Tszyu when I think about Tim Tszyu because of what he's done already. So I'm already sold on Timmy. I like what I see. I like the heart, and I like the showmanship. and I think we're going to see it on Saturday. All that being said, Terrence Crawford comes up and fights him. Terrence Crawford washes him.
I think this is the guy who's been pampered.
We'll cross that bridge when we get there. It's been a great show. I do got to roll out, but I want to thank everybody for coming in. Thanks so much for you guys for joining us tonight, and make sure you guys hit the like button. By the way, everybody watching before you go, this is D-Style Boxing. Keep it boxing. We are out of here, guys. Peace.
Have a good night. Take it easy.